Good morning. Does anybody want the lights on, or do we like this setting? Intimate. All right. Wonderful. I know it's dark outside. It's not bright inside. All right. So, what is on everybody's mind on this wonderful Thursday? Coffee with me.
I can start us off. I'm starting to see gnats again in my apartment.
Gnats?
Yep, just like last summer.
It's too cold for them, I think.
That's what I thought.
So, what apartment are you in?
1309.
1309? All right, we'll have Batsner come out specific to your apartment
Okay.
and see what's going on. Is anybody else experiencing gnats?
Is that fruit
Yeah.
Fruit flies?
Yeah, they're fruit flies only bigger than your standard fruit fly, so I call them gnats.
Fair enough.
Wisconsin
Whatever.
fruit.
The Wisconsin fruit
Yeah, there you go. Super size.
just like our mosquitoes are sometimes considered birds. So
Oh my gosh.
Moths,
what?
moths,
Moths too? You have
except
moths?
I think it's in my bird seed,
Oh,
and I'm trying to take care of it.
okay. Yeah. I mean, again, whatever we can do individually to help solve that, but I'll definitely reach out to Batsner to see what their solve is, since I'm sure we're not the only ones experiencing this currently. So thank you for that.
Sure.
What else?
I have a question. Is there any chance, I know we have a massage therapist, I'm not sure if she's still coming till that, everything is redone. Is there any chance that we could have an acupuncturist who would wanna come in a couple times a month?
Yeah.
And people could make appointments with them?
Sure. So great question, Lynn, about the massage therapist, because it's something that I've been trying to actually get in touch with our massage therapist, because she doesn't have voicemail set up, so I'm trying to go through text messaging, because I actually have to get in touch with her, because she is providing services, but it's not well known, because I don't know what hours, so she's kind of setting it up personally. And so I just want to get a handle on that, because again, we do have it temporarily set up in the Carolyn Newell Clinic. We have the massage table over there, and that's where the acupuncturist could also be. I don't have a contact for an acupuncturist. I could definitely look for one that would be interested, but just curious if anybody has gone to one or would have a recommendation.
Mine is too far away.
Yours is
He's
too-
way up north.
Okay.
I miss him desperately.
And you
And I
believe
went
in
to,
It helped me.
mainly at
Okay.
Just-
Oakland and Hampton,
Oakland and
so
Hampton.
that wouldn't be too far away, and I can get his information for you.
That'd be great. And you can drop that with Teresa or I, and we can have the conversation and see if they're interested in coming in. Obviously, it'd be probably based on demand. I'm assuming it's something it's a simple enough contract lease agreement that we set up. We don't really charge for the space to utilize that. It's more of a service. And then is it once a month like a podiatrist, or is it twice a month, every other, and is it set up on a schedule? But
And
yeah.
what he would charge per visit,
Right, because I'm assuming, is that a private pay situation, or can you run that through insurance?
Insurance won't pay for it.
That's what I thought, and so it's strictly private pay. So then, also, if you're asking him if he wouldn't mind sharing or having his rates available, then he would be able to provide us, and then at least we can have that conversation. But-
And also, if he expects a gratuity, I would like to know that, because I am never sure.
Okay.
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah,
That
and
is a
it's
good-
awkward.
It
you know,
is.
and some of them don't want it, and some of them do, and he might build it into his price. That's fine
Right.
too,
Right.
but we need to know.
Similar to like the salon, tipping after
Yeah, and typically
service.
you do tip a
Right.
salon worker, but I don't know, sometimes.
Do you
it's
tip?
just,
Do you tip a massage therapist, or a masseuse?
I don't know.
I never tip my
No?
acupuncturist, but
Yeah,
I tip
just-
a
I do
massage
not.
therapist, but I don't think
She's
I
way
can
more
manage.
expensive than the one that's here, so I think she's worth it in.
Possibly,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, pin that down then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or
All right.
it does,
Sure.
it's different depending.
Okay. Awesome. What else?
now you want the big question?
Let's have it. Big question.
Okay, we got your letter in January about if we move, the fact that it would cost us 2 months.
Yep.
Rent. And I just, Dave and I have been pondering it, and I didn't see a whole lot of explanation as to why, which for us would be $14,000. What are the costs to East Castle for us to actually move like across the hall? We have to pay for our own mover. And I can understand if, let's say, the apartment we want to go into, the smaller one, needs new carpeting, needs a newer refrigerator. Okay, I can understand that's on us. So let's say that's $4,000 worth of work. I would like some kind of explanation about the rest of that.
Sure. And so what Lynn is referencing is a new policy essentially that becomes effective March 1st. Essentially, it's an internal transfer policy so that if you as an independent living resident wants to move to another apartment within the continuum of care, this does not apply if you're moving into the new Lake Terrace homes or have a deposit on the Lake Terrace homes. This is strictly for what we currently have, but this will apply to a Lake Terrace resident that moves in that then says, well, I want to move into a historic residence or something of that nature. It will apply to them, and that's why the policy's there. The reason being, Lynn, to your point, is it's the refurbishment costs. And on average, a refurbishment to an apartment, paint, carpeting, and appliances, which we generally do, is in the ballpark of anywhere between, depending on apartment size, $8,000 to $15,000. And so again, that's just the hard cost of basically the materials, and then of course labor for carpeting, paint, and things of that nature. That does not include any of the administrative side of the internal moves, nor does it include the refurbishment of your apartment. And so that's why, again, the 2 monthly service fees is kind of what we landed on, is because yes, we're probably gonna have to refurb the apartment that you're going into, but then the apartment you left, most likely we also have to do carpet and paint. And so it's not just one apartment that's getting refurbished. In most cases, it's 2. And also it hinders administratively just some of the comings and goings of other residents that are coming in from the outside. And it helps mitigate the cost to you as residents, as a community, on your monthly service fees in the future, because essentially, as a community, we have to pay for those transitions in some respect. And so that's why we've included that 2 monthly service fee. And again, as any policy is, it's business decisions, and those are conversations that, again, Lynn, you make a valid point. If I'm moving into a smaller apartment and my apartment has vinyl, minimal paint, and it's just simple, why am I getting charged so much when I know it's only going to cost X dollars? And those are conversations I'm happy to have in much like any conversation, one-to-one. But this essentially is that wide net of policy that we cast over a community for what I feel is the benefit of the entire community. Does that help?
Not really.
Okay.
Have you changed the policy about getting your house, your apartment refurbished after
Nope.
10 years?
Nope. That's still the 10-year policy, and we just had a resident take advantage of that. So we will do, after 10 years of living, your carpet and your paint. You are responsible for the moving of those items. That is the cost to you, but East Castle Place will bear the cost of those apartment renovations if you've lived in your apartment for 10 plus years.
You still have to move everything out? I thought you
No.
could just carpet,
Yep.
move it to the center and carpet.
Yep, absolutely. If you're, and there's different pieces, and again, that's where if a resident came, like this resident, for instance, they said they wanted the full apartment. After realizing, they said, well, what if we just move things into the bedrooms? Can you do the kitchen and the living room? Absolutely. And oh, by the way, can you paint since we'll take things off the wall? Yes. And so we're just doing carpet and paint in the living room, kitchen area, and then painting the walls where the paint's off. The family's coming in to move things to the side, and then, mom is able to live there during that renovation. So yeah, you can definitely piece that together, and we've redone just kitchen flooring for residents where it really doesn't impact them at all because of safety concerns or it's been that 10-year mark.
What about in relation to what you just said? What about appliances? If your refrigerator goes out or if something goes
Yep.
out, is that automatically replaced, or do we?
We'll try and fix it first. obviously, and we'll do that repair. But yeah, appliances are included within. I mean, again, it's part of living at East Castle Place. Again, if your microwave goes out, that's a simple fix, and so same thing with the refrigerator. Again, if it's not old and it's a missing part, we'll try and fix it first. But yeah, we will pay for a new refrigerator. We do have a standard refrigerator, and if you want to go up from that, there is a cost, kind of like an upgrade cost, so to speak. So
Going along with that, I had a washer dryer when I first moved in last April that I loved, worked wonderfully until it didn't. So they moved it out. They told us they were going to order a part. They gave us a different one, which it's not nearly as good. So I'm just wondering where they're at with that part for that washer and dryer, and am I getting it back?
I will find out.
Yeah, because I really liked it, and I really don't like this one. Actually, maybe this one just needs repair. It's the dryer that's funky. I have to run things through like 3 times, 40 minutes a pop. I mean, come on. That's a lot of energy.
When we're looking at the fruit flies in your apartment, I'll
Yes, please do. Thank you.
Caused by the dryer.
They're all clogged up in there.
But Lynn, I want to come back to you. Maybe that doesn't answer your question. That's the logic behind it. And I also know that it's a fairly standard procedure and policy for senior living communities across LCS portfolio for sure, because that's where I received the policy. But also it's, kind of across senior. And again, I'm happy to have a separate meeting to kind of go a little bit more in
I
depth.
can see if you were to say to us, it cost us $11,000 to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but I just sort of object to just a flat, you're gonna give me $14,000 just because you wanna go into a smaller apartment. My response might be, one of us is gone, I'm staying in a big apartment,
Right.
Right,
and again, that's where having those conversations, because when Anna, Heidi, and I chatted about this, we work, what is the right price, right? There should be a price. And in my opinion, I feel that there should be a price to move because, it is impacting the community and neighbors. It is a choice you're making. At the same time, moving from that large apartment down to that small apartment, yes, maybe it's 2 monthly service fees at $14,000 to move that one-time cost, but you're saving $2,000 or $1,000 or $500, whatever that, we'll call it $1,000. Over the course of 14 months, you're making that back, and then everything else is savings from there. So it could still make sense in some cases, and again, that's where any time, and again, I knew this would spur conversations, and again, I want those conversations because I want to, if you are thinking about that, I want to have a one-to-one conversation to understand your reasonings, why behind it. Also, is there something that, again, Tyler, I moved in 2 years ago, my flooring is fine. Why is it 2 monthly service fees? Because I know that, okay, let's have that conversation and have that discussion. Again, like I said, I'm going to cast that policy wide net, so to speak, and then I'm going to have those individual conversations and come up with what makes sense for you as a resident, but also for us as East Castle Place.
so are you indicating that that cost might go down?
It potentially could, depending on, again, I have to refurbish a large apartment is much different than a small one, right? And so again, there's costs associated with both apartments. And
Well, I understand that, but then maybe the wording would have been something like, if you decide to move to a smaller apartment, costs incurred are going to be yours.
Mhm.
No more than 2 months, whatever. I mean, I just think that it could have been somehow a little more precise, let's say. I don't know, but
Yeah.
if you're saying to me, okay, it's somewhat negotiable.
Mhm. And I guess, and again, that precision piece is in all, in working here at East Castle Place, the philosophy, and that I've always carried is I want to do what's right for you, I want to do what's right for us, and I want to make sure it makes sense for both of us. And so, again, casting that kind of black and white allows me to say, okay, this isn't where we're moving off of, and this is where I feel comfortable, and I look at the entire community. And then as those individuals and one-offs kind of come through, that's where we can have those conversations. But at the same time, I have 1 or 2 residents coming to me as opposed to 80 residents coming to me all at one time. So it is set up to be, I don't want to say a deterrent, but to a degree a deterrent as well. Because having individuals move within the continuum is difficult, because potentially I'm also not allowing an outside resident to come in to impact the community and, that they've been on a wait list for, that they've been waiting for that specific apartment, so.
I kept my appliances. When I visited the apartments, they all looked just fine,
Mhm.
and I like to stick magnets on them. But now, did I get a credit for that, or
Did you get a credit for it?
not changing my stove and refrigerator?
Not necessarily because not necessarily because they weren't in need of repair or
Right.
replacement.
No.
So they were replaced.
No, they were not.
Well, I mean, prior to you coming, a year or 2 years prior. So,
Oh.
so I'm not, again, when an apartment becomes open, we're doing a full assessment. And if a refrigerator was just replaced, we're not going to replace that refrigerator because it's working, useful, and
I know they said I could have it replaced.
right.
Yeah, and that would have cost me something?
I
Oh,
would have to
probably
go back.
not, probably not, okay. Then on my monthly bill, there is like a credit of 300 and something. Do you know what that is?
Is it every month?
Whenever I get my bill from East Castle.
And it's every month.
Every month, and every month.
I'd like to get in on that.
I know.
Yeah.
Mrs. Buddy, I can speak with, why don't you and I review your bill after this, and I can see what's happening
Okay.
there. Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay. What else?
As long as we're talking about refurbishing. A couple years ago, I had water leaking into my living room that they said was coming from the balcony up above. It was where the wall meets the ceiling. And apparently they fixed it and they repainted and it was wonderful. And this morning I was sitting there and I heard drip, drip, drip again.
And was it
And I'm
wet
having-
where you looked?
Huh?
It was wet where you looked? It
Oh,
wasn't just
yeah,
a
oh, I
sound?
had my hand out, and it was dripping on it, yes.
Oh.
So I haven't had a chance to talk to Eric or do anything yet, but as long as we're talking about refurbishing, I thought I'd bring that up.
Remind me of your apartment?
Hmm?
Apartment number, remind me?
Oh, 3310.
I'll have somebody up there today.
Eric knows all about it.
Okay.
He will grimace and probably say some bad words, but it's doing it again.
Okay.
I think I better go check mine. Since I'm under her.
I mean, it's the day for leaks up here.
You better. I've got a wet towel ready.
What else? Yes.
Are windows being replaced in Lake Terrace reconstruction?
Yes.
It's
And-
good.
Yes.
Just checking.
And the windows here in contemporary and historic, I did bring out a window specialist. And we went in the Gucares apartment. They opened it up to us, and Eric and I now have pricing for some options to potentially improve the efficiencies of the windows. The windows are working as they should. They are an aluminum clad window. The difference is the new aluminum clad windows have a thermal barrier where your windows do not, that were installed. In looking at that, we're going to try a couple different avenues with the seals, because it appears the seals in some of the panes, especially in the Gucares, and I'm sure this is similar to you, are failing, and so we may be experimenting, so to speak. There is a solution to mitigate that ice damming, so to speak, in the wintertime. However, then you won't be able to open your windows in the summertime. because essentially you put a storm outside the window to break that. I don't necessarily know if that's a great option, but we did bring in somebody, and the Lake Terrace windows are being replaced because those have failed. Those windows have absolutely failed. They're a poor design and construction 20 plus years ago, and the Historic Preservation Committee actually said we had to replace because they actually weren't installed per their specifications 22 years ago. So that's why those windows are being replaced.
Is that why sometimes between the real cold days or the warmer, I get a lot of weeping on the inside of my windows?
Yes.
And it drips on the windowsill, and that's what that is.
Yes, because essentially, think about the bitter cold hitting that outside aluminum. Your inside aluminum is warm. There's no necessarily barrier in there, and so it's the cold and the hot, and what you're seeing is that transfer, and that's where you're seeing that moisture. And so, again, Eric and I, in talking with the window specialists, have a couple solutions that were brought to us from this window specialist. Again, he said the windows are actually performing to what is expected. And so, that kind of leads me down the road of, as I said, a window replacement project is quite invasive. Obviously not only for you, but for East Castle Place. And so that's a larger capital item, much like tuck pointing, that is will be brought to the board of directors for future consideration.
Are there any good recommendations for what we can do to catch that moisture so it doesn't collect and drip down?
Yeah.
I tried paper towels, but.
Yeah, some of your neighbors have done actual towels.
Yeah, probably an actual towel, bad
Yeah.
towel.
I use bath towels.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
lend you one of my towels that I have from my trip.
Well, no, I think, Arlene, you need all the towels you can get right now.
I have some old towels in the truck.
So yeah, but again, that's obviously a maintenance issue because over time we have to repaint, replace those window sills and things of that nature. It's the wonderful Wisconsin weather that we're working through. So, yes,
What are they putting in Lake Terrace? Are they putting a wood-based one or an aluminum?
I believe it's a wood-based one. Again, we didn't really have a decision in that. Historic Preservation Committee dictated to us what we can put in there. So, yes.
I actually do have something, I've used them just now to stop the draft. I don't have a moisture issue, but I have the seal or whatever, it needs some serious caulking. I mean, the wind just howls, and I'd like someone on a windy day to come and look at that or listen to it. But I used it in my condo, and they're called water eaters, and you can Google it, there's various brands.
It's
They're
called
not
water ears.
water eaters. And it's a tube, and it's filled with something that absorbs incredible amount of water, and it doesn't itself get wet in like a towel and leave that moisture on the sill. And it worked in my condo,
I can explain it.
And your apartment number again? Sorry.
4305.
And I do know that I do have a full directory with everybody's apartment numbers, but it's much easier just to get it straight from you and put it in my notes. So I appreciate your understanding.
I just wanted to say, when Pat walked in, made me think, I wanted to tell you, we've had so many positive comments about the fact that our hallways don't look like bare tunnels anymore. People who visited and residents, I mean, they just really appreciate the fact that
It's just phenomenal what they've
there's
accomplished.
art in the walls.
Well,
Well-
and there's a big quilt hanging too.
Oh, well.
Lynn's had that hung for a little bit, but
Once a month it changes.
yeah. And so thank you. That was going to be in one of my thank yous as well. The art committee. When did we start that? Was it about 6 or 8 months ago?
Shirley Stone apparently.
Shirley Stone and Pat came to me, I don't know, 6-8 months ago. And it really started with, okay, what artwork are you doing for the project? And then it really morphed into, what are we doing? And then it took on this incredible project that I figured was going to take 2 years, just because. And then, you know, Pat and the art committee got involved and again, blew it away and probably would have had it done earlier if the holidays didn't get involved. But again, a special thank you to Pat and the entire art committee. Lynn, I know you were instrumental in that.
Pam Otis,
Thank
Kathy
you.
Barnes,
Kathy
and
Kathy Barnes and
Very.
Pat Moss, we have a whole big
Pat Moss,
community.
yes.
And
Larry,
Barry
Larry,
Sanders.
and Mr. Salmons.
Those were the main
The
ones
main-
that did the.
So yes,
But it has been noticed, and people, even from outside, say, oh, this looks so nice.
well, and I can tell you, I mean, because I walked the halls too, and it is a warmer feel,
Warm.
and it also sparks conversation because we actually have some of our rehab residents that do therapy. You might see them with therapists or even walking down the halls, and it just gives them different points of reference and different conversations. And again, thank you for something that obviously was.
It's
was
amazing how fast they got them up too.
Yeah, I mean, again,
Maintenance was great.
kudos to Eric and team, but it was really just, you know, the art committee set them out the morning of, I think, and then
Yes,
maintenance that
I walked around with
afternoon.
them when they hung them, so that we got the right height.
Yep.
Really nice.
So yes, kudos and again, thank you. I think that's added quite a bit to the community as well. And I think, you know, I saw one painting that I think might need still to be hung that maybe a resident set out, but we'll work through that. So yeah, kudos to the art committee. I know.
We had some wonderful things.
Yes.
I was amazed as we went through them. It's like, why were these stuck away?
Yeah. Some of the lifers.
Really nice things, yeah.
Yeah,
And UWM also benefited from the art committee.
8 carloads we got.
8 carloads. So
Oh my gosh.
wow. So
Yeah.
yes.
It was a lot just shoved in that storage room.
Yes.
Segue to another wall issue. On the new walls, is there going to be some sort of a decorative molding eventually, the way there is on the old walls, you know, with the
Like this
on
wall.
the face of the wall,
Those little
like right out here.
decorated.
Like the crown molding?
Yeah,
No,
no, things where the light
on the
is
face
around.
of the wall.
Oh, the.
Yeah,
In our anticipation pictures,
Mm-hmm.
for instance, behind the desk, the main desk, there is on that dark blue-green wall, there is like a gold
Trim.
trim.
Yep.
Will that be on
Yes.
all the halls? Because right now we just have plain
Correct.
pale gray, flat blah.
Right. So I'll double check with the interior designers. I think some of that block that you're seeing, because I can't describe it any better than that. I think we're waiting for the install of the spaces to come together.
Well, that's what I figured,
Yeah.
we'd just do it all at once.
Correct.
I'm just saying, is there something planned?
Yes, I
Okay.
believe so, and I'll verify that with RDG, our interior design firm, about, again, essentially the details within the walls on all of them, to brighten that space up. But yeah, I mean, the front desk isn't there because obviously it would impede some of the motion.
We're well
But
aware of that, but I
um,
mean, what it will be
yeah,
shows that, and
but that kinds of, I think that's debatable, having those little things
You
around.
can't have the ones with the curves with the
There-
beautiful
there's,
resident sign.
well, I don't
You
think
can have a
it's.
square one,
Yeah,
but
there
not,
either.
your rectangle, but not.
Well, I
can't
would
do
say
this.
also remember this hall is going to be an art gallery
Mhm.
of
It's gonna
changing
be
art.
plain.
So then, this part really should be plain, because you never know how big the work is that you're going to be hanging.
right. There'll be a hanging system,
Right.
essentially.
Still, it could be that would really limit what could be put here,
Right.
this
And-
hall.
And I think sometimes all those trims along there are dating.
Yeah, and so that's where.
And it's better just plain with a nice piece of artwork. That's a debatable. I mean, you might like it one way, I
Well, I
might
mean-
like it another. We'll see what the decorator does.
As long as there's something, I think is
Yeah.
the important thing, yeah.
Yeah. So can I segue into, across the hall, we're looking at, they had their first in-wall inspection. If you've looked through the window lately, you've seen drywall go up as well as tape, and you'll start to see paint here momentarily, hopefully. So that was a big step for CG Schmidt. Obviously, we can't do anything without an inspection. But that space is really gonna start transforming. They are still on schedule to turn that over to us around the end of March, early April. Where we'll have some time for that devising wall to be taken down. You'll see both spaces revealed as finished, and then down the center, unfortunately, you're gonna see a temporary flooring until they can put in the permanent flooring. And you'll see some of that permanent flooring on both sides. The front desk also has to be installed. Gymnastics is gonna be a part of the way of life here at East Castle Place for just a couple of weeks as we're working through the final touches, because there's really no good way. There's no good start, stop. It's not a broadloom carpeting that we're putting down the center that goes very quickly. And there's some pain points. And those will be coming at the end of March, early April. And so again, different ways of doing the traffic temporarily again. Then Lindsay Hall comes down as well in early April. We talked, Stacy and I met with the Community Life Committee on Tuesday about what that looks like in the interim. And so the main dining room as well as the bar bistro areas are probably going to become part of that multi-purpose larger gathering space. So we'll be working through some of the things with Majarka and team there. The smaller committee meetings and things of that nature, we will have a space for that up on the second floor. Where the salon and the general store were. So we'll have some more meeting spaces opening up. The fitness center will remain where it is in the creativity center, because the pool and fitness center will not be open. When Lindsay Hall goes down, that space won't actually open until we get full occupancy of the new Lake Terrace building. So that's looking more and more like, you know, on schedule of middle to late June. And so, you know, CG Schmidt's working through as quickly as possible the different construction means and methods, but it takes some time, but in 6 months, we'll be done. And so,
Oh, wow, careful.
right. Well, I say that again. There's a big asterisk anytime I talk about construction. That's a no, right? But no. Yes.
Yeah, we kind of, and we talked about this in the grief support group, kind of lost a little sense of community here by losing the library. It was a good place for people to just sit for a little while in the morning. People would walk by and say hello and that. We don't have that going on anymore. There's no place for anybody to come and chat with one another. We see each other in the dining room, but it's not that casual meeting and greeting. We're all headed one place, that's it, you know, there's no casual. And I understand you've apologized 1,000 times for the inconvenience, but we're missing that community here. It's hard.
That's not gonna be in the new library either, I don't think, it's too.
Well, we'll see what happens.
Sterile.
Maybe you can put papers in the bar, that end of the bar or something, so that'll be open, that'll be an open space where people can,
Well,
Yeah,
with the
that
new
would be
library too, when that gets done.
yeah, but that's still way down. It's not, you're not, like, you know, we could sit down there where Lila sits, but
Yeah.
we're going there for a purpose. We're not just walking by. I mean, here you were going to get your mail or something, you say hi to so-and-so, whoever was sitting there, or whatever. I miss the sense of community here. I'm having a hard time with it.
Along with that, I think one place we've sort of taken over as a gathering place is right here at the end of the steps, right? Where I call that intersection Main Street.
Okay.
Because what will it look like?
So it's going to be obviously a little bit more open than it is right now, but
Right.
there's seating there, similar to what we had previously. That's the idea. New furniture, obviously, but a couple of chairs, a couch, and things of that nature. So that's set to remain, and not really change too much
Well, that's
outside
sort
of
of
the.
gonna be a small gathering area.
Yeah, I mean, again,
That's about
very,
all
very
we got.
similar to what it always had been. And Ms. Summer, going back to you in the sense of community, you know, I think I appreciate that. And again, I apologize, so I'm not going to do that again. But the tables are set up in the bistro as such that that's where the intended space for right now is. You know, and that's where you can sit and have your cup of coffee and your juices and things of that nature. I know it's not that warm, cozy library feel. That's not it at all, and it's temporary. And then the idea is for the bar bistro area to really be that cozy, comfy area that will have the papers and things of that nature. I know that the library is changing locations. It's 2 doors down instead of 1 door in front of the mailroom. We did put the mailroom as one instead of having 2 separate mailrooms for that part of sense of community. We expanded the library space to help, you know, hopefully that sense of community. And you are right. Right now you're going all the way down to Lila. You don't have a beautiful front entrance like you're used to, where you can see people sitting down waiting for their rides and getting that sense of community. So I understand and I appreciate your concern. I think that's why you live at East Castle Place, is for that family and community feel, and this project was not intended to take any of that away, as opposed to just enhancing that community and bringing in additional neighbors that can feel that sense of community that's so special to East Castle Place. So you know, I think we'll do everything we can, and I'm open to anything that you are willing to share about how we can improve that. I know we're still doing happy hours, and we have Tim Crane, and we have obviously the Gilman open for dining in the evenings, and now we have lunch dining. But please feel free. I mean, I love seeing the cards and things of that nature being played in the afternoon in the main dining room. That is your dining room. And so again, outside of really the hours of 3 to 7 o'clock when it's intended for dining, that space can be utilized if you want to borrow a private dining room in the interim. We can definitely accommodate that. That's where I just was having my meeting with the board, is in the private dining room. So again, that sense of community, I don't want to wait for the project to be done because I don't want to lose that. I guess I'm open to understanding how we can improve that.
Tyler,
Yes.
the new library has tables and 1 sofa. Now, what was appealing to the other library was there were comfortable chairs and people could sit in a grouping. There's, you know, table or sofa facing the fireplace. That's not going to happen with people sitting around tables. I mean, a little bit of interaction, yes, but not just to go in there and relax and use the library. It's very cold.
Well, I think that's the rendering, right? Is what you're referencing?
Yeah.
And you understand that a rendering
Rendering, yes, but the dining room looks just as bad as what I thought it was going to be, or worse. So.
Again, like I said, there's opinions, which is
Well,
always
yes, it's an
appreciated.
opinion, but I'm also an interior designer.
And I understand that, and I appreciate that.
But
And
that's
so
one
again,
thing about the library that I
the
think
library is for us as a community to make it what we want it. Yes, there's a conceptual idea, but as with any concept,
But you could add a couple comfortable chairs. in there as
absolutely, and
well.
we have a number of pieces
Not
of
just
furniture that
tables.
are not in the renderings, that aren't shown in the renderings, that are on order. Just because we understand we need a puzzle table, we need the different types of tables for gatherings. It's not just a sterile couch so that it can look pretty in a picture, it has to be functional. And if for some reason that functionality, we didn't hit it the first time, much like what we did with Bradford Terrace, where we add things to it, we'll add to it. And so again, that's where your feedback is important from as we open up these spaces. So, and again, everybody has their opinion, and so I appreciate those, and I'm trying to to make sure I'm taking all those opinions in. At the end of the day, this is a community, and so that also has to be the lens that I see it from a community standpoint. So, yes, Lynn.
Tyler, I hear what Joanna's saying. I would just suggest that perhaps the designers or you, when a couch is chosen, they sit on it for a while.
Yep.
Maybe the ones in the library could be a little more comfortable.
I agree, and I haven't had a chance to sit on the couches,
Well,
so
they're nice and firm.
gotta get broken in,
Well, I
right?
understand that, you choose something that will last a long time, but I just suggest that they sit in a few, maybe pick one that's a little more comfortable for the library with a couple of comfortable chairs.
Absolutely.
Not comfortable enough to sleep on.
Yeah.
Well, and still firm enough for some of us to get up.
Oh, right.
It's that delicate
It's
balance
the
of.
balance.
Yes.
But you could have a mix of chairs that would be,
Mhm.
some that are more straight and some that are more comfortable.
Mhm.
So, what else?
Don't you have a fun job?
I love my job. I truly do. As much as I know sometimes maybe I'm underneath the light in some, these are the days that I actually enjoy the most, because I get your feedback. My job is to be here for you. Yes, there's other duties to that. That's one of the first ones, because without you, I don't have a job, much like the employees, without them, I don't have a job. Yes, there's other things that I need to keep a long-term perspective on, and that's what I'm also responsible for, and that's a little bit more not your responsibility at all, and that's where, we have these great conversations, and sometimes compromises, and sometimes, maybe your decision wouldn't be what mine is, and so, again, that's that delicate balance, but I do truly love what I do. I love having these conversations. I love being able to walk the hallways and have the wonderful warm smiles, and also how you as a community interact with each other. I think is really, really special. So I've been here for over 5 years. It's been a lot of change in 5 years, and I think change isn't always good. Change is hard, and I think we're probably consuming some of that right now with seeing that. But one thing, again, this summer to go back to is that sense of community is something that we can't lose, and that's something that I feel very strongly about. And so, again, I take to heart that sense of community, and I'm sorry that there's that feeling and that I've missed the boat, so to speak, on that a little bit, because I don't want to. Again, I know that, again, there's been some discussion about you doing this for the future residents and like Terrace residents, and what about us as current residents, and again, truly this is for East Castle Place, and first and foremost for you as residents, and that's why I'm able to have these discussions, and your opinions do matter as far as input into the project. And yes, not every opinion gets implemented into the project, because having 82 opinions, we have to come up with one solution at times. But do know the impact that you have in this project is all focused and favored within that community sense. So I will definitely think on that, and again, I'm taking suggestions on how we can improve that sense of community. Maybe it is putting in a couple papers within, again, I'm sure you saw the signs, this is reserved, and that's why they're not reset to be formal dining in the morning, because I want those tables to be utilized. Getting a cup of coffee and a yogurt, having that small chit-chat and conversation. I know one resident for sure likes to take advantage of that, Marv. He's probably over there right now, enjoying a cup of coffee and reading the paper. But that's the ultimate purpose behind this. And also, obviously, to keep East Castle going for another 140 years, of which I won't be here for all 140. But, the intent is to be here for some time. So.
Here's another weird question. I'm sitting here looking at this folding door thing.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, is that ever used?
Yes.
It goes away with
No,
Lindsay.
but I was just thinking, so often now yoga has to be downstairs because there's tables, and I'm thinking, if that were pulled out, yoga could have been here, and I don't know, I just looked at it and thought,
Yeah,
Would've been
it
too
hasn't
expensive.
been used in a couple of years.
Okay, fine.
But yeah,
No,
it can be.
just just a question, because I know they've had to go downstairs, but there'd still be,
Yeah.
Oh.
Yoga on one side. It doesn't cancel the noise.
yeah.
But,
Yoga's quiet.
right. It's the other side that I would be worried about.
It's noisy.
Yes, Fran.
Tyler, has the naming of historic and contemporary been confirmed? Renaming, I should say.
Yeah, the rebranding of it. Yes, to a degree. And I don't want to speak out of turn, so Anna has put together a collateral piece, I'll call it, kind of an internal explanation, understanding of it again, about, rebranding, contemporary building, to match more of that Lake Terrace, Bradford Terrace, contemporary and historic. So we are looking at rebranding to Lake Terrace, Historic Terrace, North Terrace, as well as Bradford Terrace. And so again, that will kind of take the place of, I live in the contemporary building, I live in the North Terrace, so to speak. Again, it's just to make us a little bit more congruent. Just like the Gilman, you may still call it the main dining room, perfectly fine. I don't expect you to call your new, again, East Castle Place will remain, that's not changing at all. But, you'll see some more information about that. But again, that's just to help us be a little bit more cohesive. And the contemporary building's not overly contemporary anymore. And so, wanting to just look at that.
So mentioning Gillum, I heard that there is no connection between that person and what was then the Protestant home, now East Castle Place.
So the connection,
Yes.
the connection is we donated the land. The triangle was Milwaukee Protestant home. The way it got its name, yes, you are correct. There is no historic connection between, I know Mike did a deep dive on this and maybe that's where it's coming from on trivia. No historic resemblance of Gilman and East Castle or Milwaukee Protestant home. The resemblance is that Milwaukee Protestant home at the time donated the triangle to the city. The city then renamed it. Gilman, who actually, I believe, just owned a ton of land back in the day of Milwaukee, and they came up with the name of Gilman Triangle. The tie to East Castle Place is historically, we are the ones that allowed for that triangle to take place and take shape.
Interesting. One more question. I heard, this may surprise you coming from somebody who doesn't see well, that lights in the dining room can be dimmed. Is that true? And how can that be used sometimes? So, just a slightly dimmer light during dining hours might.
Yeah.
And I might be alone on that.
There's also the cold white light. Can you get the warm white light for bulbs? Because it's so chilly in there. Just
So dimming, yes. The capabilities is vast of the different light settings we could have within the dining room. Have we been trained on how to use it is the second question that I don't quite have the answer to. The third one, the third one is it truly installed the way that it's intended to work, because they're waiting on parts. But I believe we're fully installed now. Now I just need to make sure Majarki and team are trained on it. The warm versus cool lighting.
it depends on the fixture as well as the lamp.
Right. I believe the intended light installed is the intended light that is going to remain. Again, cool versus warm, I think is.
It's harsh. Cool light is very harsh. And even when I look out at night from upstairs down, I used to look at the dining room with the warmth of it. It was always inviting. You look down there now, it looks like a morgue at night. And it really does. It's very depressing.
So, dimming, yes. Warm versus cool, don't have an answer for you. Any other? Yes, Ms. Summer?
The grief support group is sort of working on a list of things that new widows and widowers need to do and take care of. Is there some way that that could be available to a new widow or widower that, you know, who would take care of that? Would it go to Teresa to pass it out, or Lila have it at her desk, or is it just whoever goes to maybe comfort that person to begin with or something? You know, you're kind of overwhelmed in the beginning with all the stuff that has to be done, and we were in our meeting sort of putting a list together of things that, you know.
I did find a really good list from
Yeah.
Ferrick Funeral
That we can
Home.
add on to it.
So
that would help.
if I pass that on to Teresa. it
Teresa
could
would be the one I kind of point to. Chaplain also runs that group, correct? Or
Yeah.
supports that group
He
rather?
supports it.
Doesn't run it by any means, but between Chaplain and Teresa, those are the two resources that I would use to further guide that. But I think Teresa is a great starting point if there's information that needs to be passed along. Obviously, Teresa is usually one of the first ones to know in the community if, you know, someone passes outside of that spouse, and so then it's, you know, making sure the spouse knows there's resources, but at the same time making sure that isn't ever, you know, making sure it's appropriate when it's available to them if they need it and things of that nature. So
But does somebody usually come to that person?
usually
When-
Chaplain or Teresa does if they want, is my understanding. So
And from personal experience, I think that Harold is exceptional.
yeah.
I don't know, he doesn't always get the word immediately, I don't think.
Okay.
I don't know. Teresa knows immediately usually.
Yeah, that would be helpful, who to call and where do I start and
Yeah,
who to
I
notify.
thought about that.
How many copies of this do I
Random thoughts.
need and that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know what to do. I seriously wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah.
That would be helpful.
We can
Because
definitely.
we are, let's face it, in a long-term.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then I just have a suggestion. I was disappointed when our resident turned 100. I just thought maybe something in the dining room to honor her.
I understood she didn't want anything.
Oh.
That was what I was told.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That was what I was told.
That was my understanding as
Oh,
well.
okay.
Because anytime we have a centurion, we always approach them, asking what their wishes are.
Thank you, sorry.
And so I know that our wonderful Miss Doris Reisel had her own little family private dining event, and that was
Okay,
the extent.
sorry.
And if I'm wrong, and Doris, if you're watching, if I'm wrong, let me know. But yes, you know, turning the century
Yes.
is pretty incredible, and so
It
I
is.
believe she's our 4th centurion that we have now on campus.
Wow.
I think we're down to 3.
I'm telling you right now, I don't want a big party. I want to with my family or with the family business. That's all.
Okay.
So,
We respect that.
so there it is, and yes, we try to respect the wishes of the individual attorney because they've earned it after 100 years.
Do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah.
We can even swear.
Anything else?
Oh,
Well, again, thank you. I truly, I do mean it when I say I love these conversations. And again, know that you don't have to wait for this to have these conversations. My door's always open. Phone call away, email away. Should you ever have anything in your mind that you want, any suggestion that you have to. I know that we've taken some things from this meeting and kind of responded to them, you know, in the best interest of the community, but also hopefully expeditiously per the new resident sign-in, or not the resident, the visitor sign-in. It's a little bit quicker now, hopefully you see that. But again, that was a fantastic suggestion, and just, you know, when you're in it every day, sometimes you overlook it. All right. Thank you.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Yeah. This is called. Do you have a few minutes?
Yes.
All right.
Oh, yeah.